Actually, Mr. Chairman, supposed to be dapat for 2022, dapat may nasimulan na project. Yan, di ba?
2021 magkano?
Well, yun nga, let's start siguro for the status of the fund releases for 21 and 22 para medyo maayos yung presentation.
Okay.
How
Ma'am,
much was programmed, how much was released?
for 2020, Mr. Chairman, 1.8 billion was released for NTF-LCAC. This covers various agencies. We did not have a special purpose fund for
2020.
Yes, for
Yeah.
NTF-LCAC.
But that was what was the total allocation for NTF-LCAC then?
2021?
2021 siya lumaki, di ba?
Kasi sa 2021, Mr. Chairman, nagkaroon ng support to barangay
Yeah,
development.
Yes.
yeah. Oh.
For 2021, Mr. Chairman, we already have an amount of 19.24 billion for total releases for the whole. This includes 16.4 for the special purpose funds. And the rest would be implementing agencies, yes.
So agencies, we can ask them during their budgets, no? Just give us a detailing of which agencies.
Yes, Mr.
I think there's the ILG, there's AFP, among others, no? Pero itong 16.4, could you give us a report on that, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we'll just submit.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, based on this document, out of the 2021 release, which total amount na yung secanda, di ba? You mentioned 16 billion. Yung ongoing is 2.9 billion. Completed is 3.2 billion. So, parang di 50% of the 16 billion, parang in limbo pa yung projects.
Well,
Diba?
what
Parang-
about the 3.2? Do you have a report on that completed the projects? Or it's just a
For the completed total.
Siyempre, gusto natin malaman na totoo nga yan kasi nga marami nagdududa dating there's no report. How do you you're the budgetary experts, how do you judge that?
You know, Mr. Chair, how would you justify the additional 10 billion for next year when we don't even know what's going on with this project?
Please speak to the mic, Yusek Tina.
The justification for the additional amounts will correspond to the cleared barangays. So we allocated it based on the representation of NTF-LCAC that the amount would be required for, I think, initially 20 million pesos and then it was cut to 4 million. However, we leave it to...
10B was the proposal of
Yes,
NTF-LCAC.
yes,
So you did not do what you normally do with the other agencies.
No, we did, Mr. Chairman, because they had more cleared barangays that they identified.
So they asked for more than 10B.
Yes, but we were saying that perhaps you have to concentrate on the ongoing projects under the cleared barangays that have been recently identified.
Yeah.
Siguro, Mr. Chairman, can we ask DBM to submit to the committee yung lists of beneficiaries for the 10 billion?
Yes. Yes, yes. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Because I think ang nasubmit lang, Mr. Chairman, is yung area. I remember in the previous years, you submit pati yung barangay kung saan.
It's included in the submission, Madam Chair, but the projects itself are not included.
Not yet.
Yes,
I-
but it's
may-
the barangays are identified.
Maybe during the plenary deliberation, you could, before the plenary deliberation, you could submit. Because if I remember it correctly, yung submissions nyo, nakasulat doon kung farm to market,
Yeah, when will they identify the projects?
school building.
When are the projects identified?
Unfortunately, Madam Chair, the projects are identified only during implementation phase.
Yun ang mahirap kasi isn't that a form of pork barrel that's frowned upon based on the Supreme Court?
Ano parang hindi. Kasi if I remember it right, no, when I asked for a
They
copy,
submitted the
they submitted na parang this yung 20 million, 5 million for school, 2 million for road. So parang naka-breakdown yung 20M kung sa
Yes,
nila.
pero-
That's only an indicative menu.
Yes.
It's not strictly followed.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
In the end, we just made a menu that they can choose from. But I see the minority leader, who's really a much better lawyer than I am. He's agreeing that that's a pork barrel based on the definition of the Supreme Court. Because when you pass the GAA, there must be an identification of projects as much as possible.
Level of detail.
Unless the contingency has not arisen in the case of the contingency fund and other special purpose funds. So, is there no way to to improve the program in that sense from a budgetary standpoint? Parang the standards you apply to different funds, di ba dapat mag-apply din sa kanila?
We gave the NTF-LCAC, I think, some leeway in the identification of the projects, especially because of the intent, Mr. Chairman, of the fund. However, we leave it to the discretion and wisdom of the committee if certain adjustments in the amounts as well as the allocation should be done to for
Well,
them.
we also want to support the program, USEC, no? Pero yun nga, let's apply the same standards across the board. And if you could give us as detailed a report as possible on the implementation of the programs, we would appreciate it. I'm sure our colleagues, marami na, graduate na sila Senator Drilon, but I'm sure our colleagues who remain here will also be as assiduous in pursuing the implementation of the program. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir Chairman, yung sa same menu, like if I remember it right, di ba, parang for school buildings may cap na 5 million. Tapos merong portion pa doon na soft, di ba, yung like we can give burial assistance, parang may ganun.
Wala daw pong soft, puro hard projects lang ang nakapasok.
So walang mga burial assistance, mga ganyan-ganyan. Okay. Okay. Sige. And then, dun sa slide nyo naman, well, I think hindi nyo naman dinitalya. Dun sa pension and gratuity fund. For 2021, yung item number 2, for payment of retirement and terminal leave benefits. For 2021, 21 billion ho yung nasa GAA. And then for 2022, yung nasa NEP was 66 billion. And then kinat ho ng Congress, so sa GAA naging 17 billion. But for 2023, sa NEP nyo ho, naging 124 billion. Can you please
Yes.
tell us why the surge
Yes.
in the amount?
Yes, Madam Chair. There were years when increases in the civilian employees, kasi ma'am where military and uniform personnel benefits or military and uniform personnel benefits. Ano ba? Sorry. Where military and uniform personnel are concerned, their benefits are indexed to active military salaries. But there were years where we only provided 6 months. So I think there were 4 years during a span of 2010 to 2016 where only half of the year was provided to military and uniform. So they petitioned DBM and even up to the DOJ that they should be entitled to the 6 months from January to June. And so that is what we are paying at the moment.
In those years, in other words, you incurred a deficit that you're now only now paying off.
Yes, arrearages.
Should I get a report on that? Because
Yes,
we're looking at also, as you know, we're looking at reforming also the system of
Yes, Mr. Chair.
pensions. Yeah, because that's been pending for a number of years. As even during the Aquino administration, there was an attempt to already reform the indexation, as you know. No?
There is a report, Mr. Chair, and also there is also a process where the Commission on Audit goes over all these claims from military and uniform personnel.
Yeah, we're not questioning that, Yusek. What we're saying is we need perspective
Yes, Mr.
of
Chair.
what's been happening for the last decades to the MUP, so we can decide. Basically, we want to see the growth of the fund requirement because the subsidies, the national government subsidy, has been growing. I don't know if the right word is exponentially, no, but it's been growing. So, and the urgency has also grown
Yes, Mr. Chair.
as you know. No? So please help us with that respect.
Yes,
And the thing is, it was referred to the Committee on Defense
Yes.
in the previous
As a
conference.
heads up, Mr. Chair, when we looked at the pension benefits, most of the claimants for pensions are actually survivors already, surviving spouse and children.
Yes. That's why I think the military also appreciates the need for the reform because they know that in the future, if this continues, then it's a promise we can no longer deliver on. So I think they realize that that's the reality. That's why they're also initially, after the initial opposition, there is a greater openness to reform now. Go ahead.
Last question na lang, Mr. Chairman, for Sec. Amina. Noong 2017 po, yung CSC, COA, and DBM issued Joint Circular Number 1, which provided the rules and regulations regarding the engagement of contract of service and job orders in the government. So nagkaroon ho yan ng transitional period up to December 31, 2018. And then it was extended twice until the end of this year. Are we planning to extend it for another year? And ano na ho yung status dun sa transition natin na eventually mawawala na yung job orders or minimize na yung job orders tsaka yung mga contractuals?
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Chair. Correct po yan, no? But I was told that majority of the departments are requesting for another extension of the period of engagement of COS and GO workers for another 2 years. So that's until December 31, 2024, in order for them to have ample time to absorb their existing qualified JO and COS as necessary.
But Sec, meron ba tayo talagang specific program on or programs on how to shift? Because apparently, in spite of the circular, nadagdagan pa ho yung JO tsaka yung COS natin. When technically, dapat we're already winding down.
Track order po. Nasa
I-feel ng contractor.
na contractual.
Oo, no. Sa special provisions,
General provision.
general provisions, under the budget po, NEP, no? There's a provision sa general provisions po that we request the agencies to fill yung mga positions po for contractual.
Yes, ma'am. To observe.
To absorb po yung mga JO nila. And I think po, our bureau po is already engaging with Civil Service Commission and COA to fix po the problem. As mentioned po previously, I think most of the government workers po who wants to enter cannot get the positions, at least yung higher position po or during the entry level because they lack po the qualifications.
Okay. Yun na lang po, Mr. Chairman. And last na lang, din sa, kasi you mentioned yung right sizing. Are we doing a study on how to go about it? Or may preliminaries na ba tayo for this? 'Cause I think connected din siya doon sa JO and COS.
Yes po, we have a preliminary study po on certain areas po, and then we're engaging din po PIDS for the second part po. I think it will be done by first quarter of next year. So more or less, yun po yung study nung anong agencies po which we should merge or abolish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Binay. What's the timeline, Secretary, for the right sizing?
Hopefully po we can
6 years.
Oo naman po, if you pass it po, you will give us I think authority for 1 year to review.